So I guess now we're cool with guaranteed contracts. I mean, not totally guaranteed contracts, but 179 million in guarantees. That's what Jalen Hurts just got from the Philadelphia Eagles. 24 years old, only proving you went into the wrong business. 179 million in guarantees. Lamar Jackson was looking for the fully guaranteed contract. Doesn't seem like he's going to get it. But Jalen Hurts got his. And the question is this a big change for the NFL? He's now the highest paid player in history. Is this now the future? Guarantees of some kind? Is Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, wrong when he says we don't go for guaranteed contracts? Because it seems like the Eagles do, and it seems like that may be the story for sure. Let me bring in, by the way, I'm Tony Katz. What's going on? Let me bring in JMV from 93.5, 107.5, The Fan, the sports guru, the voice of sports in the state of Indiana. And Indiana comes into play, especially when you talk about the Colts and this whole concept of CJ Stroud, Ohio State, falling down in the draft. But you heard this deal, man. Jalen Hurts getting the sweet, sweet cash. This too much for Jalen Hurts? And does this change the entire conversation about how quarterbacks get paid in the NFL?
No, Tony, this is the going rate for Jalen Hurts right now. And I think it's interesting to note, if you go back to September, ESPN reported that there was a deal that the Ravens offered Lamar Jackson, that Lamar Jackson, acting again as his own agent, turned down back in September. So it doesn't go without the Ravens taking a shot at this. But this is the going rate for Jalen Hurts. I mean, might it change the game for Lamar Jackson in some way? Maybe. In terms of the Colts, Tony, it just won't. And here's why. Because, for one, the Colts are going to draft, and we'll get more into that in a second, a quarterback as a rookie. The other thing is, to fit in Lamar Jackson, that type of deal, they would have to cut a bunch of players. They would have to make sure that everything fits salary cap wise. And then, Tony, there is really no guarantee that the Ravens just simply don't match and bring Lamar Jackson back. And then you're just kind of left like this, right? Yeah,
but I mean, more to the point is the idea of this deal itself, the idea that there are $179 million in guarantees here. Lamar Jackson's looking for a fully guaranteed contract, not saying he would get it. But this now sets the stage, right? Does this help Lamar Jackson in his case? Or is this hey, nobody's getting fully guaranteed, and Jalen Hurts is not even in his prime yet, and you, Lamar Jackson, have taken enough hits to maybe past your prime, and that's the end of the ball game?
No, I think that Lamar Jackson is going to have to ease his stance. Lamar Jackson is going to end up back in Baltimore when this is said and done, but he's going to have to ease his stance. Now, this deal with Hurts doesn't compare to some of the outrage the rest of the NFL had with the way that Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, brought in Deshaun Watson and then, re-upped him forever and guaranteed so much money and all of this. It doesn't compare to that, but it may, again, change the game for Lamar Jackson. I just don't think Lamar Jackson is going to get, Tony, what he wants out of this, and I think that it's been handled sloppily. And you could argue Lamar Jackson had representation. It could be different. You could argue that, Baltimore, you got to be smart like, Howie Roseman and Philadelphia did. Where you strike right now with Jalen Hurts, you go ahead, lock him up. You're good to go for the long-term future. Baltimore should have done that. And in fact, tried to do that allegedly back in September, but it didn't work out with Lamar Jackson repping himself. So they both made this kind of a huge mess.
Yeah, but the Deshaun Watson story there, the Browns taking him, throwing all the money, saying absolutely whatever, and discarding Baker Mayfield and the whole thing. That was about the idea that this guy was too much of a problem off the field to make that money worthwhile on the field. Never mind the real issues that Deshaun Watson has in front of him. I don't want to dismiss those or minimize those. But this is about when you bring up Lamar Jackson screwed the whole thing up. The whole thing is because he's his own agent, meaning he wouldn't listen to reason and say, take some of it guaranteed and the rest is how the rest goes. Is that what you mean by screwed up?
Well, no, yeah, he screwed it up, and so did the Ravens, because they could not find common ground. And with a talent like that, a former MVP that's that valuable for your team and that valuable that in terms of what it would look like with other teams in the NFL, I mean, you do screw it up. You've got to go long term with that guy. And the Ravens evidently tried, and Lamar Jackson wasn't interested. And now Lamar Jackson's kind of hanging out there and, missing voluntary workouts, which you want him to be a part of. And that's problematic. But you can argue that both sides in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson handle this badly. I don't think that there's going to be much of a profound change in philosophies here on either side. I think ultimately, again, Lamar Jackson plays football this year. He just goes back to Baltimore, and we'll see if there are any charred feelings after all this has taken place.
Let me take you to the NBA playoffs. And I was trying to, for whatever reason, I can't get this video to play properly without being silent. It looks like a freaking Zapruder film. This is
I can do some play-by-play for you if you want. You want to do
that? You know what? I might let you do. I don't even know if you'll be able to. I'll try. I'll keep your mic up if you want to do the play-by-play of what happened with Draymond Green, Domantas Sabonis. This is the Golden State Warriors against the Sacramento Kings. You know what? I will put your microphone up. I will play it. This is the video. You explain what in the world is going on here. And Draymond Green got ejected from this game. Is he about to get suspended? Here it is. Watch.
Late game situation right here. Golden State trying to make a run. You get two guys, Tony, tangled up, being Sabonis and Green. Sabonis grabs the ankle there of Draymond Green, and Draymond Green kind of does a Christian Laettner stomp. If you go back and look at this, Sabonis, I thought, started it. Sabonis started it, but here's the difference in it all. Draymond Green has a history. He has a track record. Draymond Green was seen with the stomp. That's what was magnified, and because it was him, he got tossed. And because it was him, he's going to face suspension. But Sabonis, as much as I love the dude, he played here at Indy. He started that thing grabbing the ankle right there. But that's just the reputation of Draymond Green, Tony.
Hold on a second.
He started it.
He started. Let's go back to the videotape.
Okay, let's go.
Marv Albert. Why would that be Warner Wolf? Let's go to the videotape. All right. It is Sabonis who gets pushed to the ground. You're telling me that in getting pushed to the ground, he's grabbing onto the ankle and he deserves that?
Yeah, I mean, look, those are guys physically getting tangled up. I'm not suggesting he deserved getting stomped. But that was a reaction, a bad reaction from a guy that has a long history of bad reactions. So that's going to get him tossed. But listen, Sabonis was not without responsibility of everything right there. And I'm sure Sacramento fans love it because ultimately it led to the tossing of Draymond Green last night.
Is Draymond Green going to get suspended? Are we going to see him out a couple playoffs?
You know what? He might, but here's how I look at it. I kind of look at it as, there was a starting point right there. I mean, it was both sides. It wasn't one or the other. They may look at that stomp as being something being so egregious you cannot look past. I would like to think you wouldn't suspend the guy for game number 3, even if it is Draymond Green, even if, Tony, he's at times detrimental to his team with his actions and behaviors on the floor like that. I thought that both parties had responsibility or bear responsibility there. So I'd like not to see him. Give him a fine. Let him play in game number 3.
We are, by the way, they're going to suspend him for a game. I mean,
well, they may, but I think that's weak. Given the circumstances that we just watched with that wonderful video you played back, I think that's weak. That'd be weak by the NBA, but it can be weak.
No, it's the NBA that's freaking weak because they'll be like, we can't afford to hurt the ratings. Who cares? He touched his ankle, so the guy gets a cracked sternum. Sounds cool. Let's get more ratings next week.
I love that. I love that stuff. I do. I like it. I love the 80s NBA where guys win at one another. There's something I think that is very
Draymond,
good about
that. Green, is that it? Is that it?
It's not even close. I mean, these guys threw punches back in the day and no technicals were handed out. So not even close to that.
You think that's what people want? You think that's the NBA people want?
I think that oftentimes the NBA is viewed upon, these guys love one another too much, Tony, and there's too much, friendly AAU kind of camaraderie going on. And I think that some fans out there like to know that there's an edge in competition like that. And, if things get a little bit salty, and then you just kind of move on. So I don't think it's that egregious.
Good Lord. Dude, man, you and I got a very different description, kid.
Salty.
Of salty. Let me see if you got a different description of this. This was from I think this was KHOU. So this was a for whatever reason a Houston outlet, but a sports outlet. Check this out right here. Is CJ Stroud's NFL draft stock falling a poor performance in some of the what combine like things, and people saying that maybe he isn't going to be one of those top 3 picks. Now, being in Indianapolis, the Colts sit at pick number 4. According to everything you have ever said, Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, wants Will Levis, has decided on Will Levis, is fine with Will Levis of Kentucky in that 4th pick. No need to draft up, no need to be the Panthers coming in and taking that first pick from the Bears. And now you have people saying, well, maybe Houston will come in and take Levis at number 2. Leave Stroud in his falling position for the Colts at number 4. What's your take?
Well, people will tell you, I just talked to Matt Miller, the ESPN NFL draft analyst, and he told me in his mock draft is coming out, he has CJ Stroud going to the Colts at number 4. And here's where all this begins. It all begins because Carolina got up to number 1, Tony, as we've talked about, because they wanted the overall selection of whomever they wanted a quarterback. They have evidently decided on Bryce Young. Houston doesn't want to run. Again, this is reportedly on Stroud. Arizona is not going to draft a quarterback. Evidently, there's not a lot, at least right now, we're 9 days away from their draft. Not a lot of interest in trying to trade up for any of these teams. So Matt Miller told me earlier today in an interview I'm going to air this afternoon on this show, my show, from 3 until 6, that he believes that Stroud's going to be available at 4. And this has all just come down in the past couple of days. Now, we'll say this. You and I went back and we've talked about CJ Stroud. I had been told that CJ Stroud was a guy that maybe in these one-on-ones that are so important for these teams, there was a bit of a struggle with some of these teams getting his leadership quality. Now, for me, you can gain that. You can earn that. You can mature into that. I just want his arm talent. I just want his quarterback talent. That's what I'd be thrilled with. But that could be playing a role in this. But his Vegas odds now are going to number 4 overall to the Colts. So as it stands 9 days away, it looks like CJ Stroud, Tony, just may be available for the Colts at number 4. Will they take it?
When I hear someone discussing the idea that, not so sure he's got the leadership skill, that sounds to me like the kind of thing that a sports guy who's on TV says to fill dead air, right? That's the kind of thing that a guy puts out there and states and talks about how important it is and leadership in the locker room because, they once played for an hour and a half and therefore they have this secret knowledge that the rest of us could only dream about. But I think that you're right. You're not discussing the idea of a guy maturing and being around other men, being around other leadership, and finding his way into doing it his way, as opposed to what some coach, some GM, some standard is of their way. There's a very Moneyball conversation in this, in terms of what it is that you're looking for and how it is that people develop. I think that you're onto something here. Is that leadership thing something that the Colts are even looking at? Is that
yes.
What moves them?
I know that for sure. I know that they're looking for that, but what I say, I think that conversation can be a bit overblown and lame. I'm looking for arm talent. I'm looking for quarterback talent. CJ Stroud described himself at the Combine in February here in Indy as a ball placement specialist. The Colts haven't had that in a long time, especially anybody with any talent back there. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I believe CJ Stroud to be. So I don't really care. Grow into a leader. And maybe, Tony,
that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Colts have been burned the last couple of years because they haven't had it. Well, look in the mirror. That's on you. That's on the Colts for not developing that. That's on top to bottom. That's from top to bottom. That's their blame. I'm worried about quarterback for the long-term future. And if CJ Stroud's available at 4, I don't care if he couldn't lead, a dog to go drink water. Doesn't matter to me. You teach him to do that. I want to see him play quarterback on the field. That's what I care about.
Yeah, this is about the idea of development. And if you're expecting Patton or George Washington right off the go, I think that's lame. Should have put on lame. A guy that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's lame. And see, here's where we are. We're 9 days away, and all this crap that's just ridiculous, Tony, we start hearing and people start talking about. And as I've said, 95% of these conversations we have leading up to the draft, we're going to look at it after the draft as absolutely a waste of breath. it has been worthless. But that's where we are with this, because this is the conversation every year. This is normalcy.
JMV 93.5, 107.5. The fan in Indianapolis, the voice of sports in Indianapolis, JMV. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I cover it all. There's politics, there's culture, there's sports, there's cigars, there's bourbon. I mean, what? I'm going to leave it to somebody else? Forget that. Guys, appreciate you and appreciate the good people at AFP, Americans for Prosperity.org, economic liberty, free speech, sponsoring what it is we do over here. Be sure to check them out, and I will catch you all next time